4-color Shadow deck. Going to be on the play here, I think. Looks like possibly a mulligan making a decision.
Not too crazy to see that happen. I think normal players probably mulligan about 10% of the time. And I think in Modern, that number is a lot higher.
I agree, especially with this 4-color Shadow deck. It has some mana quirks, shall we say.
It's a nice way of putting it.
Yes, it needs a lot of things to go right in that mana base. But here's a turn 1 Wild Nacatl starting as a 2-2. That's always nice.
Not bad.
Kevin Jones going to lead on Spire, Bluff Canal, untapped, no pain, very nice in this matchup, and has a Serum Vision. Is going to go looking a little bit. Pulls one off the top. We'll take a peek at those top 2 cards. How do you see this matchup playing out, Jerry? It seems like Kevin just needs to stabilize early, then quickly turn the corner and close the door on Alex.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you have to be cognizant of the combo kill potential out of the Shadow deck with Temur Battle Rage Become Immense.
Of course.
Maybe not in that order.
Yeah, usually want to switch that one up.
Yeah.
Bastecki going to go ahead, cycle a Street Wraith, take a draw from that. Monastery Swiftspear in hand, going to deploy that beater. Do have an additional fetch land and a Mishra's Bauble.
Get that Prowess trigger,
Yeah,
nice little combo deck.
Of course.
Yeah, these are the starts that you definitely don't want to be facing down when you're on the Izzet Phoenix side of things. There is some amount of removal in the Izzet Phoenix deck, but not like copious amounts, right? So you really need to establish a Thing in the Ice or some Arclight Phoenixes, get them on blocking duty until you are ready to actually turn that corner.
Absolutely, and the number of removal spells continues to decrease. Things like 4-color Shadow get more and more scary. A lot of dice confusion presently. So Alex was taking a peek at the top of the library via Mishra's Bauble, deciding if he wants to go ahead and crack that fetch land on this turn or wait a little bit. It's interesting because it's a point of damage if he goes and gets the plains.
That's true, but getting the card selection is worth more than a point, even though against Izzet Phoenix, every point is certainly going to be relevant.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. Going to swing in for 4 damage there. Kevin drops to 16. Takes the turn back. Saw a red spell in hand. Maybe a Lightning Axe for Kevin? Here's Thing in the Ice. That'll do a little bit to blunt the aggression.
Yeah, not surprising to see that considering Kevin bottomed one off of his Serum Visions.
Looks like Death Shadow, Tarmogoyf, Mutagenic Growth in hand for Alex. Now we're going to go ahead and crack that fetch land.
Yeah, Tarmogoyf was the card that he kept off of the Mishra's Bauble, so valuing the additional threat, which could seem kind of strange considering that he's already got a pretty reasonable clock going, but there are very few cards in Alex's deck that are better than Tarmogoyf in this situation.
I think that's true. Alex's deck, a bit of a one-trick pony, and I don't say that in a bad way. It's just he wants creatures, he wants them attacking. Not like Izzet Phoenix where you're looking for these kind of unique spells in a bunch of situations.
Yeah, and the game plan changes in the Izzet Phoenix deck a lot of the time,
Right.
depending on what your draw steps are, what you find off the various cantrips. Maybe you pick up an additional threat or a lightning bolt or something that cuts their clock by an additional turn. You suddenly go aggressive. I think Alex is just looking to start the aggression, which he has done, and just try and maintain that.
Alex going to go ahead and take a draw. I think we picked up a copy of Temur Battle Rage.
Yeah, with Mutagenic Growth in Alex's hand already, Kevin could be looking at a lot of damage here, and he's got some tough decisions to make. He has this Thing in the Ice that is reasonable as an 0-4 blocker, but at the same time, he kind of wants it to sit around and wait until all the counters can tick down.
And look at Kevin already head in hands, racking his brain, thinking of how do I get punished. Is going to go ahead and make a block on that Monastery Swiftspear.
And Bastecki now, if you wanted Mutagenic Growth, the Wild Nacatl, Temur Battle Rage it, could get in for 10 points of damage. Likely not worth it unless you're going for the exact combo kill, but I do think that using Mutagenic Growth on the Swiftspear this turn to take out the Thing in the Ice could be good.
Yeah, and can still Temur Battle Rage in that situation. Prowess triggers, we get you some trample damage. Gonna pass on that though, just the Mutagenic Growth. And a follow-up of a Tarmogoyf. And Bastecki with the pretty serious battlefield presence already on turn 3.
Yeah, I like this. This is what Michael Majors would refer to as traction. You are slowly limiting your opponent's options, making sure that they can't get you with any sort of tempo advantage, and meanwhile you're just presenting these threats that are very difficult to remove. And in the case of Tarmogoyf, we see instant sorcery, creature, land, artifact.
That's a big one right there.
5/6 and out of lightning axe range already.
Yeah.
Kevin can do some tricksy stuff with like surgical extraction if he really wants to get that Tarmogoyf off the battlefield, and he might actually have to.
Kevin going to go ahead and fire off a Mana Morphos here.
Standard classic players.
Couple of mana floating.
Standard classic players. That is time in the round.
Takes his draw. Thankfully not going to have to watch Kevin go Mana Morphos pass, as we did several times last time he was in the feature match area.
Yeah, this game he kind of has the opposite problem where he's stuck on 2 land currently, so trying to get there via cantrips.
Does he have a use for that red mana? It is going to be a Lightning Axe. It's going to head at that Nikado. Had the Surgical Extraction in hand.
Yeah, could be saving those for the easy return of an Arclight Phoenix, but that gets pretty painful. And maybe if he finds another thing in the ice, but he would probably need to find another land also. So probably more useful to get that Tarmogoyf off the battlefield. Hard to say. I'm sure Kevin has a plan, though.
Let's see what that plan is, because here's a very, very scary clock. And uh-oh. It's backed up by a second Tarmogoyf, and that just might be the death knell for Kevin. That's a lot to overcome here with only 2 mana available. Kevin's going to take a draw. Does he find a way out of this situation? Sizing on Tarmogoyf starting to matter again. For a long time it has not in Modern, and Tarmogoyf has sat on the bench. But you see here how that 6 point of toughness really backbreaking in this matchup.
Yeah, it's huge. You have to work for it. 2 mana 4/5 is basically not good enough. But the 5/6 getting out of Lightning Axe range and forcing the chump block from Thing in the Ice, stuff like that, I mean, it is a very powerful card, and this is basically why Tarmogoyf was ubiquitous in Modern for so long, was because it just outsized everything. It made so many creatures irrelevant.
Exactly right. Kevin can bring back an Arclight Phoenix, but both players know that's not going to do anything, and Bastecki goes ahead and takes game 1. What do you think? Was that a fair portrayal of how this matchup generally plays out? A lot of aggression from Bastecki and not a lot of answers over on Kevin's side.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin was on the draw, missed his 3rd land drop multiple times, didn't have an early Arclight Phoenix, didn't have a Lightning Bolt for the first aggressive creature, so things didn't really go well for Kevin, but that can happen. You know, the Izzet Phoenix deck does a really good job of doing its thing consistently, but sometimes you just don't have all the answers.
Why don't we go ahead and take a look at our sideboard options here for Kevin. You see 3 Molten Rain, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Crackling Drake, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Abrade, 1 Shatterstorm, and finally 1 Beacon Bolt. Jerry, when you built this sideboard, did you do so with 4-color Shadow in mind?
I did not. I mean, obviously there are decks like Burn that you have to take into consideration that are going to be presenting early threats, and there are decks like Grixis Death Shadow that play multiple big threats. So the Lightning Axe is in the main deck. The Beacon Bolt in the sideboard kind of takes into consideration the big creatures, and then you obviously have the Lightning Bolts to handle things like Monastery Swiftspear. But this matchup specifically, no, and it's tough because Alex has the small creatures and the big ones. So things like Anger of the Gods might clean up some of the draws, but definitely not all of them. And you can't lean on these 3 damage effects like the Anger of Gods, Abrade, Lightning Bolt, stuff like that, because Alex recognizes that Tarmogoyf is a huge threat in this matchup. So definitely like the Beacon Bolt. Crackling Drake is pretty decent as a blocker, and maybe if Kevin expects some amount of graveyard hate. And things like Pyromancer Ascension might be a little bit too slow in this matchup too. So You might see Kevin board in like a Braid, Crackling Drake, Beacon Bolt, shave some Ascensions, cut Surgical Extraction, but light sideboarding overall, which is not really going to help him that much.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Kevin sideboarding to the point where he can't ever be the aggressor in this matchup. I think it's important that he maintains the capability to just kill Bastecki. If he sits there and tries to react to everything he does, eventually something's going to outsize his removal options and he'll get crushed underfoot.
Right, and the problem is Kevin is not great at stopping Bastecki's threats, and he's not great at actually presenting his own clock.
Right.
Because a lot of it just gets outsized by what Bastecki's doing.
I think as we discuss this, we're starting to piece together exactly why these 4-color shadows are getting some traction into the metagame right now. It seems problematic for Is It Phoenix.
All right, I found my Mythic Championship London deck. Let's go.
Beautiful. Why don't we head over to Alex's sideboard? We see 1 Claim to Fame, 1 Duress, 1 Inquisition of Kozilek, 2 Assassin's Trophy. That is 2 copies of Faith Shield, 2 Fatal Push, 2 Hootie Mandrills, 3 Collective Brutalities, and finally 1 copy of Ancient Grudge. Jerry, what are you going to be bringing in when you're at Pro Tour London?
Some removal, some 4 toughness threats, maybe some additional disruption. I think those are cards that Alex all wants access to. This isn't necessarily a matchup where you want to lean on Teamer Battle Rage, especially post-board when you're expecting the games to go a little bit longer as your opponent brings in more and more removal for your smaller creatures. So, I don't know. I would expect maybe Duress, Inquisition, Assassin's Trophy, Fatal Push, Shooting Mandrills, some amount of those cards, maybe even the Claim to Fame if your opponent manages to Lightning Axe a Death Shadow or Tarmogoyf, you can just bring it back on the cheap.
Yeah, I like that. Well, of course, we are now sitting on the precipice of our quarterfinals. And if you want to go ahead and vote on exactly what matchup you'll be seeing in the quarterfinals, there's only one place to do so. You got to subscribe to the SCG Tour, the best home for Magic here on Twitch. Of course, you can use those Amazon Prime subscriptions you have laying around. You'll get to decide those quarterfinals. You'll also get access to the custom emoticons and badge. Jerry, what do I always tell the people to do at this point?
Game.
It's game. Spam it. Let them know. Only $4.99 a month, of course, at twitch.tv/SCG Tour. Definitely want to be in there chatting, having a good time over in our subscribers-only chat.
Having a good time spamming game emotes.
Mm-hmm. Nothing more fun, really, on the planet than just doing a little spamming. A little tasteful spamming. We always keep it tasteful here on the SCG Tour.
No, but also
okay.
Tasteful spamming, is that a thing? Does that exist?
I don't know.
It does now.
We just created it.
When you're rocking game emotes.
The only way to tastefully spam. Players just doing a little shuffling here as we get ready for game 2.
The daddy is nervous.
Yeah, you see it on his face. I think he's starting to wonder, is this a matchup I have any game? And really, Is It Phoenix feels like it has game in everything. And you can just have those explosive draws we just talked about that'll just bail you out of any situation. Maybe Kevin's looking for one of those here. We'll have to see. A little Saito slap right there. Kevin gets himself primed.
It didn't look like his heart was in it, you know.
Saito. Oh, he went hard.
Saito hits himself very hard.
Yes. Absolutely. Does he still do that?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever works for you, I guess.
I think it's cool. Like, Magic needs more characters, I think, and more differentiating qualities between the characters.
I agree with that.
Modern classic players that is time.
One of the reasons why I always support Kevin Jones. I think he is one of the truest characters here on the SCG Tour.
I mean, he calls himself the daddy.
That's a start. You're already a character at that point.
And he is just frequently late to everything.
Yes, also true.
And he showed up to this tournament with no place to stay and no physical Magic cards.
Yep, all of that surprised nobody who knows Kevin well.
Right. They're just like, that is business as usual, just another day in the office for Kevin.
Yep.
And, oh, look, he's in top 8 contention. Weird.
Just how it goes. Kevin, unfortunately, taking a mulligan here. Is It Phoenix can mulligan well? In some situations. I think here, where you have a lot of must-answer threats, it's going to be a lot harder to mulligan successfully. You're really relying on like your lightning axes, things like that to bail you out. You also need to hit your land drop, so Beacon Bolt comes online. Very mana hungry. Could be problematic on a mulligan.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But being on the play, and especially in this matchup where you need your answers to line up basically perfectly, I would much rather mulligan aggressively and try and have a proactive start, something with an Arclight Phoenix or a thing in the ice, and just try and race my opponent, because things aren't going to go super smoothly, and Alex especially is going to try and ensure that that doesn't happen, right? So I think just taking a proactive stance from Kevin is likely correct. And Alex's deck also just contains things like Thoughtseize, where it's very easy to take out an answer and then stick a big threat.
I think the key card for Kevin here is really going to be Thing in the Ice. 2 Dismembers, able to deal with that, but not a whole lot beyond that. You could Assassin's Trophy. You don't really want to be doing that. There are 2 Fatal Push in the sideboard. Wonder if those came in this matchup. I would assume so. I think Thing in the Ice is the key card here.
Right. I think if you're in Alex's seat, you just know that eventually you're going to stick a giant threat, and Thing in the Ice is basically the only answer to that. So as long as you have a way to actually kill that, then Arclight Phoenix can block for a little bit, but again, you're going to draw into more threats eventually and be able to attack around that stuff.
Alex kept a 7. I see a Death Shadow. I see a Mishra's Bauble. I see a bunch of lands. Now I see a Wild Nacatl. Another aggressive start from Alex.
Normally you see the Mishra's Bauble fetch land interaction, but in this case, Alex doesn't even use that because he knows he just wants to play Nacatl on turn 1.
No matter what, right?
Yeah, so there's no sense in like bobbling yourself. You know that you're going to fetch the Stomping Ground. And we can just save the bobble for next turn, maybe. Or just bobble you. That's also fine. I mean,
I want to point out Kevin has had painless mana to start both these games, which is typically a huge advantage in this kind of matchup. Did not matter last time.
Yeah, deck has 7 fetch lands, 4 Spire Bluff Canals, and doesn't necessarily need to fetch Steam Vents unless your hand is super land light.
Right.
So that is one of the benefits to playing like this really smooth 2-color deck.
Are going to fetch here. Just grab basic mountain. Only 1 damage from the lands. Very important. Kevin did find a lightning bolt, so able to answer that Nacatl if he wants to.
Maybe. Who knows how many mutagenic growths are chilling over there.
Very true. Always a concern.
0 mana interaction is just busted.
Yeah, it's always terrifying to play against. Opponent's capable of anything at any point.
Alex can feel it.
Ready to slam that mutagenic growth at a moment's notice. Kevin doing a little fetching here. I wonder if we're going to be looking at the key card, the Thing in the Ice. Let's see what Kevin's play is. Taps 2 mana.
Manamorphos go.
Manamorphos. I hope not Manamorphos go. I really hope.
For Kevin's sake. Ooh, double red.
Interesting. We'd assume Faithless Looting, probably Lightning Bolt.
That enables Arclight Phoenix.
There's a Faithless Looting. What are our discards? A nice Phoenix start here. Exactly what the daddy ordered. And I do see 1. That's going to hit the bin. Follow up Lightning Bolt, cleaning up that Nacatl. There's the mutagenic growth. It's going to stay on the battlefield still. Get to bring that Arclight Phoenix back.
Having some mental misstep flashbacks here.
Oh, yeah.
So now, if you're Kevin.
Ship or block?
Yeah, that is the question. Do you actually try and block here, or do you attack?
I think it's a tough question.
I don't think so. I think, I was going to say, I think you hold back.
He jams.
Mostly because of Death Shadow. But
he jams, and Alex falls to 12. And like you said, that does now unlock the Death Shadow sitting in Alex's hand. Let's see if Kevin's going to be punished for that.
No, I mean, like we were saying earlier, you can't really afford to sit back as the Phoenix deck.
I think so.
If Alex has the Death Shadow, it's pretty likely that he'll be able to actually enable it and make it large. That is what his deck is designed to do.
Alex fetching Death Shadow, that doesn't typically work. There he's able to find Godless Shrine.
I think he was like, I'm going to fetch and enable my Death Shadow, and then he just saw it. He's like, yeah.
Alex falls to 9. Man, imagine you could fetch up a Death Shadow.
Card's already busted.
More busted. There is Death Shadow sitting at 4/4 right now.
Out of bolt range on turn 2.
Of course, and we also know that Bastecki sitting with mutagenic growth in hand. Fatal Push at the ready. Here's Steam Vent's going to take 2 more damage. Fall to 14 is Jones. What's the play here? Does he have Lightning Axes in hand? Is that the play? We know that will lead to disaster for Kevin here.
Looks like Snapcaster Mage, Arclight Phoenix, and maybe a Lightning Bolt.
Not in range of Bolt Snap Bolt quite yet. Here's an attack. Bastecki's going to fall to 6. If it's a Lightning Bolt, this looks good for Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can even just block the Death Shadow with the Snapcaster Mage if you want to.
Correct. Have to fear the Teamer Battle Rage, but...
Of course, but we mentioned before those might be getting trimmed in sideboarding. And this is Kevin's game plan. You know, he's not attacking Arclight Phoenix into an active Death Shadow unless his plan is to actually burn Alex out.
Yeah. And I think well identified by Kevin. I think that's how he has to play this matchup, has to hope to be the aggressor here. Bastecki going to cast Thoughtseize. And that's definitely going to prompt a response from Kevin.
Standard classic players, your bearing.
It's going to bring Bastecki to 4 when it resolves.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I think your play is pretty obvious. You just play Snapcaster, target Lightning Bolt, and let it resolve.
I think so too. Because then you have a live draw to the 4th land to cast the Arclight Phoenix in your hand. Here is that Snapcaster Mage. It's going to go ahead and target Lightning Bolt.
Standard classic players.
And Bastecki might just be trapped here now.
I think so. I think his hand is Thoughtseize Mutagenic Growth, Fatal Push Mutagenic Growth, 2 lands. And that is not going to get him out of this.
But you can't use the lands when Kevin has a Lightning Bolt that is ready to flashback.
Mm-hmm. There is the Thoughtseize. Yeah, I think Bastecki's just dead. I think Kevin got this game.
Can maybe hope that Kevin forgets that his Lightning Bolt has flashback, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Bastecki thinking if there's some way he can entice Kevin not to attack on the next turn. I don't think it's going to work, Alex. Can fall to 1 Fatal Push. Yeah, that's no good. He just gets Lightning Bolted out.
Wonder if there's a different play for Alex this turn. Like not cast the Thoughtseize, just play the land, attack with both.
Still dead, though. Still dead. I mean, that doesn't get him anywhere. He just gets double bolted on the next turn.
Right, but say Kevin plays Snapcaster, targets Lightning Bolt, Bastecki can push it, and then maybe pay 2 life for Mutagenic Growth.
Okay.
It's only 12. Oh, no. It is, yeah, it would have been exactly lethal.
Okay, there's the line then.
Yeah.
Standard classic players, if you are making...
Tough one to spot in the moment, but we know how it's going to play out now. Kevin's going to go ahead and fling that Lightning Bolt over at Alex. But we have outs here, don't we? We could just kill this Arclight Phoenix.
At 1 life?
Not at 1 life.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the key breaking point. All right, never mind. Check that one.
That fetch shock mana base.
Yeah, look, that's the cost. And Kevin realizing maybe that's the weak point of Alex. If you're going to do this Death Shadow stuff, you have a vulnerable life total, and I'm coming after it. And Kevin Jones able to even up this match 1 game apiece.
Good play by Kevin.
I think so.
You give Kevin some Steam Vents, some Scalding Tarns, some Snapcasters, some
a way.
Lightning Bolts. He will find a way.
No, you're spot on.
By any other means, other than the game of
Another look at our sideboards here. Anything you want to switch up now that we've changed sides of the play-draw equation?
I don't know about switching things necessarily, but Bastecki now has to be well aware that Kevin is willing to take these aggressive lines. And I don't know if that changes anything from his point of view. Maybe he has to be a little bit more conservative when playing out this next game, because it's all on the line.
Yeah, delicate balancing act that had to be played in that game. Bastecki maybe with a slight misstep, casting that final Thoughtseize. Only to find Kevin Jones loaded up on burn spells at that point.
Now, I guess maybe it's not lethal because one of the bolts can go after the Wild Mikado.
Okay.
So Bastecki might have just been trapped on that turn.
Complicated last few turns. Very few decision points, but they had a lot of inflections to them, a lot of different orderings and not that many cards in hand, but the ways to play them, multitudinous to say the least.
Yeah, and I guess maybe Alex could have lived. No, not with him at 6. I was thinking he could have Thoughtseized away a lightning bolt and then fetched and fatal pushed the Phoenix to not die, but then the other bolt's just going to kill him because he's at exactly 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird from Alex's side because Kevin played the Steam Vents untapped, right? So you can infer something about his hand. I think Snapcaster makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The untapped Steam Vents pass doesn't represent all that much else.
Yeah, but no, Kevin did a good job. Checkmated him.
Absolutely. Attacking on that key turn, right? That was absolutely the key spot, bringing back that first Phoenix and choosing to jam.
I mean, with Kevin sitting on Lightning Bolt and Snapcaster Mage, it made a lot of sense.
Yep.
A little dangerous, like you mentioned. He was dead to Temur Battle Rage.
Yeah. Well, I think you just have to play that way against these 4-color Shadow decks. You're going to have to fade a draw step every now and then if you're going to steal a game.
Oh, yeah. It's not like Kevin could have played around it anyway.
Right. Very true. Both players drawing their opening 7s here. Huge stakes in this game, fighting for a top 8 berth. Been a minute since we've seen Kevin Jones in a top 8. Maybe even longer since we've seen Bastecki in a top 8. Nice start here from Bastecki. Going to go ahead and lead on Wild Mikado. 2-2 on the battlefield. We'll see if that's going to become a 3-3 on the next turn.
Absolutely need to kill this thing.
Again, no pain from the land on turn 1. I can't understate how much that matters here. You see how narrow the margins are when we get down to the end of the game. Every single point matters.
Right. I mean, that's all that last game was.
Right.
Was one single life point on Bastecki's side.
Here comes the Wild Mikado. We are going to fetch before. Go get Godless Shrine, I would assume. Complete the trifecta. Make Wild Mikado a 3-3. There is the Godless Shrine. Going to take some more damage. Fall down to 14. That 4-color Shadow mana base doing its thing.
It's risky, but Alex is in the driver's seat, especially with Tarmogoyf as a follow-up.
Yep.
And with Mishra's Bauble,
huge.
Out of Lightning Bolt range, not Lightning Axe range necessarily, depending on what Kevin discards.
Street Wraith in hand as well.
Okay.
Bastecki just going to go ahead and pass the turn with that Tarmogoyf at the ready.
Oh, and nothing to do on turn 1 from Kevin.
Mutagenic Growth, the draw from Alex. Means he's going to protect those creatures reliably. Here's Thing in the Ice. That's going to need to get online quickly. And I wonder if Kevin had a turn 1 cantrip and passed on it knowing he just had to jam Thing in the Ice to flip as soon as possible.
I mean, that's hard because you would still need a Manamorphose or a 0-mana card.
Right. We'll have to see when Kevin's next turn comes around. Here come those creatures. We're going to make the block here again, I think. Tough decisions all around. Every turn of this game, tough decisions.
If Kevin could transform Thing in the Ice this turn, I don't think he would be blocking.
I think you're correct. You see 2 cantrips, 2 lands, red spell.
Another Thing in the Ice, it looked like.
Okay. Maybe we'll reload on that. Here is the Mutagenic Growth. Going to make that Nakatl 5-5. Pump the Tarmogoyf a little, goes to 3-4.
And
4-5.
Bastecki down to 12 life, which enables Death Shadow.
Gonna bobble as well.
Bobble me? Bobble you?
Death Shadow at the ready. Bastecki passes the turn back to Kevin. 1-1 Death Shadow. I wonder if I misread a Street Wraith in Bastecki's hand. I think I possibly did. Because he could have played it for a point of damage there. Cycled for a point of damage. Choosing not to, though. Here's another Thing in the Ice. Gonna Serum Visions. The clock is a ticking. Bastecki, Teamer Battle Rage in hand, ready to go. Is this Kevin's last turn of the tournament? I should mention, I think there's a slight possibility he could get in with a loss, but certainly not the guarantee that a win would be here.
Right. I wouldn't be banking on any of that.
No, and I'm sure Kevin's not. Bastecki with another Tarmogoyf in hand. Feels like he just has it all this game. And Tarmogoyf now a 5-6. Kevin tapped low. Can Bastecki just find a kill here? He's looking. Gonna go ahead and cycle Street Wraith. That's gonna draw a card.
That's a good start.
Yep, brings Alex down to 10. Death Shadow now a 3-3. Love to find a fetch land here. It's a Thoughtseize. Now that would take him off Teamer Battle Rage mana. So probably doesn't solve the equation here, but may want to fire that off anyway.
Looks like no matter what, the most Bastecki can do is 13.
Yeah, I think Kevin's getting another turn. Here come those attackers. Man, every attack from this 4-color Shadow deck is terrifying.
Right.
Absolutely terrifying.
This is basically what Twin used to do. Just like the threat of the combo is so much.
Yeah, and you're just in the grinder from basically turns 2 or 3. And it feels like Kevin has to make a perfect decision. Alex, cool, calm, collected. I'm going to have a little drink, a little sippy sip while you go ahead and puzzle this one out.
I think you just blocked the Nicodle. I mean, if there's a mutagenic growth, you're not dead, right? It's still only 12. So I don't think Kevin needs to block the Death Shadow. If Bastecki has another Street Wraith, it's whatever.
I think you can afford to take the safest block here, basically.
Yeah, like Kevin needs the thing in the ice.
Yeah, I think he knows that. And he's just evaluating how risky can I be? What can I get away with here?
Yeah, so if you block Shadow, you lose it to Street Wraith. If you block the Nicodle, you're only losing it to mutagenic growth. And if there's mutagenic growth, Teamer Battle Rage, you can't win no matter how you block.
And I think Kevin has come to that conclusion. Looks like, yes, he is going to make the block on the Nicodle. Kevin's Phoenix flooded, has 2 Arclight Phoenixes in hand.
One Faithless Looting is all it takes.
There's many draws that could leverage this hand into an explosive possible end to this game even. We'll see if we can go that far. But if you do something like discard those Phoenixes, flip your thing in the ice, that's wild stuff. Bastecki thinking, do I want to get Jones down to 1 with shut off fetch land?
Right.
Pretty powerful stuff. That's what he's thinking. Do I want to give you the option to fetch? What do you think? You're in Alex's position here. Do you shut off fetch land?
I think it's relevant because if you just deploy another Tarmogoyf and Kevin transforms the thing in the ice,
Doesn't matter anyway.
Your whole board is gone. So at least this, you get in some damage. Oh, going to Battle Rage the Nicodle.
Okay. That might actually just be the best play.
Yeah, I could see that. So you could put Kevin down to 1, but you still need another attack step or a top deck lightning bolt, which Bastecki might not even have in his deck anymore.
Right.
Or you could just get rid of the thing in the ice, deal 8 damage, put Kevin down to 6, and then you still have him on a 2-turn clock. You don't lose anything in combat.
Yeah, I like this a lot, and I think Alex found the best line here.
Double strike. if you have Ferocious, it gains Trample.
Right. So Nakatl is going to come through for 2 damage.
Kevin was on a Thing in the Ice plan. That failed. Both of those died to combat tricks, of all things. And now I think Kevin is stuck on an Arclight Phoenix plan, which means that he needs help.
Yeah, a lot of help here. Let's see what the top of the deck yields. Kevin going to go ahead and take a draw.
Attention Magic players, we are looking for 3 more people to begin our final sealed event of the weekend, the 4 p.m.
Fetch land.
If you would like to play in a Swiss paired sealed side event,
I still like Bastecki's line.
I do too. I think it was just the best line.
to the side event registration stage at this time. Again,
So what desperation play are we making here? Because that's what this is going to be no matter what. It's going to be the raw Manamorphose. That's step 1.
Kevin not willing to fetch, even though within his deck get him closer to a Faithless Looting potentially, because he probably fears Lightning Bolt from Bastecki, or maybe he can produce 2 Arclight Phoenixes this turn and would be able to block the incoming Wild Nakatl.
Yeah. Like we said, no matter what he does, it's a Hail Mary.
colored paper. Please make your way to your seats. Again, players at the
See a frustrated head shake from Kevin there.
for your first round are posted at
Dig for looting.
on
That is basically all you can do at this point, I
It
think.
seems like it. Here's an opt. Takes a look at the top card, puts it on the bottom, draws one off the top. That didn't look like the face of someone who drew exactly the card he was looking for.
Yeah, that was a frown.
Taps 1 more mana for another opt. Looks at the top card. What are we drawing to here?
Looting and
And that gets you 2 birds.
maybe Lightning Axe. Because Axe could get rid of the Death Shadow.
Oh, he found a 3rd Phoenix, and he just extends the hand. Kevin Jones defeated by Alex Bastecki. What a tense match, and you see it on both players' faces. Took a lot out of them both. And for Alex Bastecki, looks like we have locked up a top 8.